Now that we've got some more basic knowledge of our event loop put together, we're going to start to look at some really interesting behavior around Node.js inside this section. In particular, we're going to take some of the code that you and I wrote in the last couple of videos, and we're going to merge it all into one mega example. And when we put this example together, you're going to see some mind-boggling behavior that really ties a lot of these topics together. And in my opinion, this might be the best Node.js interview question you will ever come across. All right, so we're going to put together a code example here. It will not behave the way you expect. And I think that it would actually be kind of a good interview question, just in my opinion. Anyways, let's get started. So we're going to take some code out of our async.js file and our threads.js file, and we're going to kind of merge it together in one example. So I'm going to make a new file inside of my main directory called multitask.js, like so. Then inside this file, I'm going to grab everything from async.js and threads.js and just copy paste it all inside of here. And then we will kind of play with the code a little bit. So we'll first go into async. I'm going to copy everything inside of here, and I'm going to paste it into multitask.js. I'm then going to do a little bit of cleanup on these requests right here. So I'm just going to delete all the do request statements. All I want to have right now is where we get our start date, the require statement at the top, and the do request function, like so. Next, I'll go into threads.js. And then over here, I'm going to get just one of those callback functions, one of the PBK df2 function calls. I'm not going to copy paste anything out of here, because if we start to copy paste multiple things, it's just going to get a little bit confusing. So I'm going to copy this one function call. I'll then go back over to multitask.js, and I'm going to create a new function called doHash. I'm going to put our hashing function call into that thing. So I'll say function doHash, like so. And then I'll paste in our PBK df2 function. And I'm also going to update the console log to say hash, like so. Okay, let's very quickly make sure that we also require in the crypto module before we forget that. So I'll go back up to the top, and I'm going to require in the crypto module, like so. All right, let's now go over to our command line. We're going to run this file, and we're just going to make sure that everything works and that we don't have any typos. Right now, we are not calling do request or do hash. I just want to make sure that we don't get any errors right now. That's all. So I'm going to go back over to my terminal, and I'll run node multitask.js. And when I do so, I don't see any errors. So that's exactly what I expect. Okay, so as it stands right now, this file is pretty boring, but we're going to add in one additional module to this thing, and then we're going to call a couple different functions, and that's when we're going to start to see some pretty interesting behavior. So here's the third module I'm going to require in. I'm going to say const fs is require fs. As a reminder, fs right here is the file system module. So we can use this module to read files off of our hard drive. Underneath our two function calls, or our two functions do request and do hash, I'm going to add in a new function call to that fs module. And we're going to use the fs module to try to read all the code that we just wrote into this multitask.js file. I know this might seem like a weird thing to do, but trust me, we're getting to a point here very quickly. And as soon as we put together this snippet of code, you'll then start to see some pretty interesting stuff. All right, so we're going to try to read everything inside of multitask.js, the file we just created. So I'll say fs.readFile. I'll put in the file name that we just created, multitask.js, like so. I'll then put in the file encoding, which is UTF-8, and then I'll add in a little callback. And inside this callback, we're going to do that same kind of benchmark thing that we've been doing all along. So inside of here, I'll add a console log. I'm going to give it a string of fs, so we know that this console log is coming from the file system module. And then we will do our date.now minus start, like so. All right, so we've now got a function do request, do hash, and then this last read file right here is just going to immediately be invoked as soon as we run this file. So now here's where things start to get really crazy, okay? Here's where things are gonna get really interesting. I'm gonna add in a function called to do request right above. So remember, do request is gonna make an HTTP request over to Google. And then down below, here's where things get crazy. I'm going to say do hash, so that's going to calculate our hash with a pbk-df2 function, and I'm going to call it 4 times, like so. Okay, so let's now take a glance at this code and really try to figure out what's going on. So when we run this file, we're going to first try to make a request over to Google. We're then going to attempt to read all the contents of our current file, multitask.js, and then we're also going to attempt to calculate 4 hashes. Now my question to you, and this is the interview question. This is like a total brain bender. My question to you, what order are we going to see these console logs appear? We've got one console log for the request. We've got some console logs for the hash function. And then we've now got a console log for the file system module right here as well. So we're very clearly doing the HTTP request first, and then the read file, and then 4 hashes. So I want you to just sit for just a second, and I want you to think about what is going to happen, okay? Try to make a guess as to what order we're going to see these console logs appear. And as soon as you have some idea, let's go back over to our terminal, and we're going to run this file and see what happens. All right, here we go. So multitask.js. We're going to run this, and here's our result. Okay, so I got to ask you, is this what you expected? Right here at the very top, this is the benchmark from the HTTP module. We then see exactly 1 console log from that hashing function, and then we see the file system module call, and then we see the 3 remaining hashes. Let's try running it again and just see if we get the exact same behavior. And we definitely get the same. So what in the world is going on here? Reading from our hard drive with that fs module call right here, there's no way that operation takes 2 seconds when it runs. There's no way. There's no way that reading a file off of our hard drive can possibly take 2 seconds. Let's try commenting out all these do hash calls right here and just seeing how long it normally takes our read file function right here to run. So I'm going to save that. I'll run it again. And now you'll see that reading off my hard drive takes about 26 milliseconds. Extremely, extremely fast. And there's no way that normally it would take 2 seconds like you see right here. So clearly we have some super interesting behavior right here. Let's take a quick break. We're going to come back to the next video, and we're going to look at a couple different diagrams to figure out exactly why we are seeing this behavior right here. So quick break, and I'll see you in just a minute.